Why is Resident Evil 4 a masterpiece? A sentence that really resonates with me as someone who fucking loves Resident Evil 4.
Anyway, you know what this is all about. My assignment is to search for the president's missing daughter.
What? All by yourself?
I'm sure you boys didn't just tag along so we could sing Kumbaya together at some Boy Scout bonfire. Then again, maybe you did.
Maybe you did. Oh, I'm sorry. I do have to skip the beginning. Just a heads up, I gotta skip the beginning because I don't understand why he takes a few minutes to do like a green screen rap about Resident Evil. I can't believe I kept watching after this, but the video gets really good. Don't skip. You guys don't want to see this? It's like really off-putting for the rest of the video, which is super well researched.
What up? It's your homeboy Leon. Battle Capcanados, let me know if you see one. My man Louis Serra backing me up. Leon. It's Resident Evil, you know what's up. I gotta say this ain't my type of vacation. The president's daughter gotta find her location, cause I'm better with the ladies if you get my lingo. Where's everyone going? Bingo? Yeah, that's right.
It doesn't go so...
Roll the tape.
I'm not saying it doesn't go hard, obviously. It goes hard. It just... Does it go so hard?
I'm fly as hell, boy, you know I'm styling. A village, a castle, a great big island. My rhymes on fire, yeah, they in fuego. Get in my way, it's
Hasta luego.
kicking off heads like I'm Bruce Lee. I'm bad enough to take down you 3. You really want to know what's so satisfying?
Just
every
bear
time
with
I hear
me.
the words, boy, you buying.
Just please.
Stranger, what are you buying? You in my store, what are you buying?
I can't believe he opened with this. This is so crazy because if you were looking for like a, you know, a well-researched video essay, I feel like this would put you off so hard.
It's Resident Evil 4, baby. Masterpiece.
Forehead said scrapping my album. Back to the drawing board, Forehead, dude. Now that you've seen this, you're not ready.
If you're making a list of the greatest games of all time and Resident Evil 4 isn't on there, I will choke you out. Better add bingo while you're at it.
Bingo?
Would you expect a gory M-rated horror title like this on the GameCube?
No.
Of all the consoles? Really? I guess it fits nicely between Animal Crossing and Kirby Air Ride. When you see someone or something that's really successful, most people have no idea what it took to get there. For Capcom, Resident Evil 4 is a tale of art from adversity. 4 different versions of this game were proposed, developed, and scrapped. The franchise was at risk of becoming stale, and something was missing, that next step to greatness.
Stonks?
After the 4th attempt fell through, Shinji Mikami took over as lead director, and the rest is history. But imagine how demoralizing it is being part of a team that can't get this one school project off the ground. It's quite shocking Capcom never pulled the plug and said,
"Don't you know when it's time to throw in the towel?"
It takes nothing less than sheer nerve to keep the
sign of a great YouTube video game essay is when they cut to dialogue from the game. That is my theory, because that takes effort. I'm not kidding. I'm only half joking. The sign of a good YouTube video essay is when they use dialogue from the game to finish their sentence, because that takes a lot of fucking time, and that shows they put in, it's not like they didn't ham-fist it.
dream alive after so many setbacks. What I'm trying to say is RE4's development was
a little rough, don't you think?
Not all of Capcom's discarded work stayed in the trash. One version even turned into Devil May Cry.
What the hell is this?
Resident Evil 4 quickly became more groundbreaking than any Earthquake. It really sold people on the third-person over-the-shoulder view,
Hasta luego,
which has become a staple of many shooter and horror games. This is the highest rated and most beloved Resident Evil for a reason. And don't you find it interesting that 5, 6, and
Bro, I just want to show you guys, because this is where I mean, I didn't get too much farther than this, to be honest. I just started reading these reviews. The best looking console game of all time. Fucking Nintendo Power, I think, called it the best game. Wait, listen to this. Nintendo Power on a game that was not made by Nintendo on the GameCube said possibly the best console video game ever made. That is the most insanely high honor you can get. If fucking Nintendo Power calls a non-Nintendo game possibly the greatest console video game ever made. And I fucking agree. This game is so good. It's so polished. It's so beautiful. There's so many little details that are so sick. A revelation, a renaissance for the series. When this game came out, it was just like stunning. How ahead of the time
They all tried to copy its formula without fully understanding what made Resident Evil 4 so awesome. This game did for Resident Evil what Modern Warfare did for Call of Duty. Saved a franchise that was getting repetitive and bringing it to absurd levels of popularity. I could praise almost every design choice, especially Ada Wong's outfit.
Well, if it isn't the bitch in the red dress.
But I don't want to suck this game's disk drive for 45 minutes straight. Let's be real, I'll only do it for 40.
Nice.
However, there are some serious questions that even Leon's haircut cannot answer. What is it about 4 that made it the best in such a massive franchise? Has the gameplay aged as well as I think? How did the story and characters leave such an impact on me? And above all, is Resident Evil 4 worthy of being called a masterpiece? Well, let's equip the president's daughter
With ballistics.
Try using knives next time, and drop a cheesy one-liner straight into this. You're the naive rookie cop. For starters, he got massive buffs to his voice acting ability.
Yeah, first day on the job. Great, huh? Name's Leon Kennedy. Nice to meet you.
Somehow I managed to get myself involved with the incident in Raccoon City on my first day in the force.
Hold your fire! I'm a human!
Should have stuck with this guy forever. I don't know why Capcom burns through voice actors so fast. But our son has grown up, becoming a secret agent and working directly under the President of the United States. There is no doubting Leon's skills or if they pay the bills. This man has been trained by Achilles in the art of war. Leon is now a fully capable badass with a variety of slick moves at his disposal. It's the perfect direction for his character, especially in a game that's shifting more towards action. And yet, just like in 2, Leon is somewhat out of his element. This is his first assignment.
There's
he
one part
recaps his experience in Raccoon
I didn't get much
City,
farther than this,
and
but
then it fades to black.
there's one part that really like shocked me.
Where we enter the Gerudo Valley. Bro, this song is lit! Ganondorf would be proud. Accompanied by 2 Spanish officers, Leon heads to a remote village in Spain. He's there to search for the president's missing daughter.
Opening song is absolutely fire.
All by yourself?
I'm gonna put Resident Evil 4 in the SS tier for voice acting.
We'll stay and watch the car. Don't want to get any parking tickets.
Right. Parking tickets.
Good luck.
At first, Leon doesn't appear invested in this job. Maybe
did this
that's
game
the
come out?
write's way of making
2004?
the audience question
I was
if
like
Ashley
12
is
when this
even
game came
here.
out. 12,
But as
13?
our hero investigates a nearby house,
I was so scared.
things become a lot more sinister. Don't worry, I took Spanish in high school. Hola, señor. ¿Dónde está la biblioteca?
¿Qué carajo estás haciendo aquí? ¡Lárgate, cabrón!
Sorry to have bothered you.
Watch out! Watch out! By the gods, there is a psychopath on the loose. Freeze!
Leon's attempt at diplomacy is met with aggression, and he has no choice but to neutralize this man. We hear the revving of a car engine, yelling, gunfire, tires screeching, and then... shit. Things have gone to hell in
right
a
off the bat.
handbasket real fast, right?
But wait! There's more!
Leon establishes contact with Hunnigan, who will act as your guide and tutorial, and also one of Mr. Sex Appeal's love interests.
You know, you're kind of cute without those glasses. Give me your number when I get back.
But of course, the logical thing to
Right
do
after murdering
witnessing
3
the
men in
murder
cold
of
blood.
2 police officers would be to call for backup from the Spanish authorities and go in guns a-blazing. But this is a Resident Evil game, and there's no fun in that. Making his way through the forest, Leon rescues a dog like a true American hero. After dealing with some locals, he arrives at a farmer's market. And if Resident Evil 4 hasn't hooked you by now, it's about to.
Yeah, this part.
Heading into
Forgot
the
how
village,
good this part is.
Oh, hello. Let me try this one more time. Disculpe, señorita. ¿Dónde está la biblioteca? Ow! What the hell did I stumble into? I just wanted to know where the library was. Do you guys not have books? Leon sprints into a nearby house, and Resident Evil 4 gives you its first slice of terror. It becomes clear, these are not the same mindless zombies you fought 3 times before. Even Leon points this out. It's pretty scary hearing the ganados yelling in a foreign language, strategizing how to kill you, and let's fuck this guy up.
Yeah, like just right here, this part of the game, right off the bat, you're only like 5 minutes in, and you walk into this village, and then you get locked in this house, and everything kicks up to like fucking 100. And it's just such an epic opening scene.
Yeah, his haircut sucks. I want to kill this bitch. Murder. Oh no.
Chainsaw.
Oh no, please, no, not the chainsaw.
Yeah, and then your head gets cut off.
It's an unforgettable sequence. Almost immediately, RE4 throws you to the dogs. Even after beating this game 6 or 7 times, I still die in this area. There's seemingly no end to the horde, and after what feels like an eternity, we are saved.
La campana.
Es hora de rezar.
Actually, I no cap stopped when my head was cut off. Yeah, dude, I mean, he talks about it, but your head is almost bound to get cut off. Sort of the way the game is designed, so you get like a first taste of like, you know, I'll just let him say it.
Tenemos que irnos. Lord Sattler.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
He said it! He said it!
Mr. Kennedy, I got one thing to say.
You entertain me.
It's no wonder why subsequent Resident Evils tried to recreate the same opening. You got a huge playground to move through and explore, tons of houses to hold up in, items to find. At the same time, the game is teaching you all its mechanics. Knocking down ladders, barricading doors and windows. This area represents game design at its most refined. You might not even notice the genius behind it. Most players likely underestimated the chainsaw maniac at first, but because he doesn't go down like the other ganados, it pretty much ensures most people will die to him at least once.
Yeah.
And that gives the player a reality check.
Yeah.
These guys will kill you in one hit, so don't fuck around. Every time you hear the revving of a chainsaw, terror and dread will shoot through your spine.
No, it's so true. It's so fucking true. I didn't really think about how good game design that is, but just dying to that chainsaw guy once and getting that fucking unforgettable head slice, you start to get so scared when you hear the chainsaw. And in a game where you have guns, and it's supposed to be a horror game, you have to find a way to make the player scared. Because the stronger the player feels like they are, the more they don't feel any fear. You gotta let them know that they can get fucking chump checked.
And it's Leon's one-liner that ties it all together.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
The delivery, the zoom out, title reveal. This one line ignites a mystery. What was so important, it drew everyone's attention away from us.
Bingo?
This line allows us to take a deep breath, laugh a little. We are relieved, but at the same time, very worried about what else Resident Evil 4 has in store for us. But place yourself in the shoes of a Resident Evil fan in 2005. 4 was a radical departure from previous titles. No fixed camera angles, way more enemies, full 3D environments. Saving isn't tied to consumable items,
What a
thank
stupid
God.
choice that
and
was.
yet there was still a sense of familiarity. Claustrophobic.
If you guys don't know, in previous Resident Evils, to save, you had to find an ink ribbon. So you only got a limited amount of saves. And if you happen to like double save or something, you're just out of ink ribbons and you could not save. And like, if you wanted to log off for the night, you better find a fucking ink ribbon. No, it wasn't hype. It's stupid. It only is hype if you literally can play all day. But if you want to fucking save and exit, you should be able to do that. It's just dumb. Yeah, it can be optional if you want it to be, but it's really dumb if you have to like go to school or go to bed or something.
Phobic areas, tank
Add that back and make people pay for them. That's a good idea. Yeah, make them spin a wheel to get a chance at saving.
controls, slow-moving enemies. The fundamentals were all there.
Tango down!
I mean, damn. Talk about improvement in a sequel. Older Resident Evils relied on highly detailed images to pose as the environments, and they would have looked half as good if they were fully rendered. To my knowledge, this is why the first 3 have fixed camera angles.
look so
because
ugly.
Capcom was willing to sacrifice
They look bad
gameplay
even
for
at the time,
detail.
though.
I'll admit, 1, 2, and 3 look good for their time, but they're polarizing the
I don't
play,
think so.
which is why they've all been remastered.
Oh,
But
I should play the
Resident Evil
remakes.
4 found a cure for the series' greatest flaw. How the games aged like milk. Gross. For the first time, Resident Evil was fully rendered in 3 dimensions.
Thank you for the
And damn,
24
it still
months,
looks good to
Ludwig.
my eyes. The fact that this game took such a huge jump forward without falling is a testament to the skills of its creators. But what improved the most was the control. Leon handles like a champion. Prior to 4, your control and aiming changed direction based on what part of a room you were in, which sounds like a fucking nightmare because it is.
Yeah.
So screw that. Everything you need to
first
see is
Resident
right
Evils,
in
I
front
think,
of
are
you,
just
and
bad.
you can even tilt the camera for a greater field of view.
I like their
Until
story,
7,
I like some of the
Resident
puzzles,
Evil
but
continued the third-person
they're
view
so
because
ugly
it
and
worked
they-
so well the first time around.
They
It
control
added
so
a level
badly.
of freedom to combat and puzzle solving that wasn't there before. But let's switch gears. You want to talk visuals, graphics, cutscenes,
Yeah, the tank
blast
controls are so bad.
processing?
The Sega
I played
Genesis
them
has
when they
blast
came out. I
processing.
played them
My
on
man, take one look at
PS1.
Luis Serra. I don't care how straight you are. This man is gorgeous.
The remakes
Most
are good.
titles look like wet barf after a few years, so you either need Picasso or Da Vinci working at your studio to make your art
So this is the part where I stopped, but this part was so impressive to me. I mean, first of all,
style
just
look
look, just look, just look.
timeless. Show me any game released the same year or before Resident Evil 4, it don't matter. This takes the cake. Or should I say, plot.
I truly believe that. I don't think there's any game that's like fully 3D, not just like a beautiful art style game, that looks as good as Resident Evil for the time or before. I think this game is so good looking.
August.
Hey, that really sucked.
In-game models are used in every cutscene, so there's one consistent art style. From the dusky forests of the village, to the cold gray walls of Salazar's castle, and the industrial island complex, the amount of detail packed into each area is impressive. Yeah, this is the HD version you're seeing, but still, animations, body movement may not be as realistic as some games today, but my god, watching Leon suplex a dude or roundhouse kick a guy's head off, can you tell me this doesn't look satisfying?
Get the fuck
Yeah,
out
the
of here.
animations were so
RE4
sick.
gave me the same feeling Oblivion did when I first saw it. I knew I was witnessing the next step in video game graphics. But unlike Oblivion, Resident Evil 4 doesn't leave me partially blinded these days. The point I'm trying to make is RE4 doesn't feel or look like a game from 2005. It was way ahead of its time in the visuals and even more so the cutscenes. Capcom went the extra mile by using motion
Yeah, this
capture
part.
for all the movements of the characters. Luckily, it turned out a little better than the Donkey Kong TV show. Right from the start,
Underrated
we see the
TV show?
benefits of mocap. Leon asks the man a question,
Excuse me. Sir?
gets no reply, waits a bit, and then does this little shrug. He's just like, okay. It's a very minor detail, but this kind of thing makes playing Resident Evil 4 feel like a movie. Characters' motions are so fluid and natural, it's a total contrast to the robotic, stiff animations from before. This graphical fidelity adds a layer of personality
look.
to the characters that just wasn't possible before.
I've been
The little eye movements, the little like smirks.
Bro.
I mean, there's no better example than the knife fight with Krauser. The little differences in how they attack and kick illustrates their unique style of fighting. Right down to the way Leon and Jack land on their feet. They look back at the same time, indicating they're of the same skill level, but have different styles. God, I love video games. Even during gameplay, Leon's moves are so crisp. Look at that cartwheel. Run it back one more time. Ooh! No wonder he's pissed. Bro, check out this running spin sidekick. Difficult move to pull off. A normal man would have flown back 10 feet. Leon should have been in the Olympics. Look at his javelin form. I told you he was trained by Achilles. But motion capture on its own wasn't enough for Capcom.
Of course, when we do motion capture, that only records body movements, not the face. So what we did was take the
Yeah, then they did
dialogue we
this.
recorded in America and had each animator animate the facial expressions by hand for each scene.
Isn't
And
that
I think we've been able
crazy?
to achieve some great results.
Goddamn right.
This is absolutely insane for 2005, and it's crazy that they even pulled this off. When Leon and Ashley meet Sadler, these crossbow dudes burst in, and for 2 seconds it cuts to Sadler with a shit-eating smirk on his face. I mean, just look at how Salazar's expression changes in this scene.
But look at his face! Bro, that is so much better than like facial animations on a lot of games today. It's so much better.
Pain, joy, anger, confusion, irritation.
I didn't even remember, but it made like, yeah, I played games like this. KOTOR, I remember had a great story, but
Video
look,
games had to
everyone has the same monotone face.
heavily rely on voice acting to get across how a character was feeling.
Or this Fallout, or like all the games I think have great stories. Like, I don't know, Resident Evil 4 feels so much more memorable for all these little details.
Because the graphics just couldn't portray
Because of
their
the
emotional
crunch.
state.
I'd rather starve to death in here than be eaten by one of those undead monsters! Now leave me alone!
Resident Evil 4 changed
Fast and the
all
Furious
of that.
game?
Need a ride, handsome?
Okay.
So we get this.
A little narrow of his eye.
Just for that?
Instead of this.
I'll kill you!
These animations are so good, they outclass some games released over a decade later. I hope you understand that Resident Evil 4 didn't just revolutionize horror in third-person games. It completely changed video game cinematics. As if the story couldn't be any more visually impressive, check out this cinematography, the camera angles and shots. In the opening house, a shadow covers the window, and through a gap we see Leon walking towards the house. It sets an ominous tone and establishes the rural atmosphere. The trapdoor scene, Salazar pushes a button, candlelight flickers, the camera follows him, then his grapple hook. Cut to a wide aerial shot, panning slowly. Cut back to the grapple hook. Bam, there's our hero. Badass one-liner.
Don't fall for this old trick.
That is perfection. They even have some
Yeah,
Alien 3
I agree.
camera angles, switching to the view of a monster as the Verdugo pursues Leon. Now what do you see in this shot? The knife, right?
The bitch in the red dress.
The scene's hidden purpose is to show you, hey, Krauser's pretty good with a knife. But it does so without anyone stopping to say that, so the dialogue can be focused elsewhere.
You know, I met Wesker long before you.
We'll see soon enough if you did.
This is what I mean when I say every scene should be doing at least two things at once. When Leon is ambushed, he narrowly dodges a lethal blow. Cut to the knife with blood dripping down it. Zoom out.
Been a long
Yeah,
time.
this game's so fucking hype, dude. This game's so fucking hype.
Krauser.
Resident Evil 4.
I just watching this video is giving me such nostalgia for how much I fucking loved this game when I first played it.
Was shot like it's a horror movie and an action thriller. The scary parts are slower, panning up to reveal the U3. The action is fast-paced, quick shots, camera follows the subject. It's so engaging you forget it's a video game until, oh shit!
Also, just had the fucking, they animated so many death sequences you'll probably never see. This is 30 minutes of different deaths. And you may never see all of it, but like it makes it feel that much more impactful when you do die to something weird. When something has a biting your head off animation, or if like you miss a quick time event and you fall on the spikes, like there's...
For the rare times I'll say I love the inclusion of quick time events, it's the developer's way of saying, yo, pay attention, dumbass.
Right
We
there.
worked hard on
Yeah,
this.
like that.
Whoa.
This is already ahead of where I saw in the video.
Easy,
It's all new to me.
easy. And I'm a fucking god at this game. It really shows the limitations in games like Village and Cyberpunk and why being stuck in first person the whole time isn't a good idea unless you're BioShock or Half-Life. Because the interesting stuff needs to happen in front of the camera.
I liked Village a lot.
Gameplay. Would you believe Resident Evil 4 has been ported to more platforms than Skyrim? So what's the best way to play it?
All of them?
I will say the Wii motion controls are pretty fun, especially in Mercenaries. Otherwise, just play it on newer hardware. Or use the chainsaw controller. I'm sure that works well. Talk about ports. What about cover art, man? I have never seen one game with so many different covers. Anyways, Resident Evil 4's gunplay completely annihilates the shooting from previous games. Leon feels like a true secret agent, always running with his weapon ready, just like the front cover. It's so satisfying to pop a dude's head off with a sniper, chuck a nade into a big group and watch him fly
headshot
away.
explosion.
Like Call of Duty,
when you're making a game, you got to get that fucking, the headshot sound and animation should feel fucking satisfying.
every weapon has a red dot sight.
It's gotta
so you know
sound, yeah, it's gotta
exactly where
sound
your bullets
meaty.
will go and what
You gotta
they'll
feel
hit.
like you really
when
did
you're aiming,
something.
your field of view is narrowed, but you can't move and shoot at the same time. So it creates this dynamic gameplay loop of when do you run and reposition and when do you shoot. It's hectic as fuck. What's really cool about the aiming is your red dot sight comes out at an angle. Lining it up takes some practice, and it makes aiming kinda challenging. You know how Dead Space took the idea of shooting limbs and turned that into an entire game? Have you ever wondered where they got that idea?
Oh my God, that guy's
Super
so
Monkey
fucking
Ball.
scary.
Depending on where you shoot the Ganados, Leon gets unique attacks if he's close. See a dude trying to yeet an axe your way? Bam. Not today.
Oh yeah, you
Bunch
can
of
shoot
Ganados rush.
You can shoot the axes out of the air. You can shoot their legs. You can shoot their arms to make them drop their weapon. I mean, that's more common now, but in 2005, that shit was so crazy.
You shoot one in the head.
Horror games need to have a satisfying shotgun. Bro, I could not agree more. If you shoot someone with a shotgun and it doesn't feel like they're fucking gushing blood and exploding, then go back to the fucking lab. Crunch.
Kick them all away. Some asshole throwing dynamite.
Hasta luego.
You're not just pumping lead into everything that moves. You can play like that, but it's way smarter to pace your shots. Unless Shrek's older brother shows up, then just unload on his ass. Horror games need to be difficult. If you don't respect the stuff...
I think one of the best examples of it they're doing it wrong is Half-Life 2. I don't know if you guys played Half-Life 2. It's kind of so old now, but Half-Life 2 had terrible gun sounds. Terrible gun reactions, terrible gun sound. The game is really good, but one of the worst parts of Half-Life 2 is like the guns sound so dinky and they don't feel that impactful when they hit. It did have a pretty good headshot because it was that that flatlining sound. Maybe the Magnum too was all right, but everything else,
stuff that's trying
the grab gun felt great. Again, the game was great because everyone just fucking messed around with the grab gun anyway. The game's still an all-timer, but that was the weakest part of it, I think, was like the gun sounds.
Kill you, then it's not scary. Resident Evil 4 has one of my favorite features in any video game. Optional death scenes. Now what the hell even is that? Well, should your health be depleted in one of these QuickTime events, you'll be treated with a gruesome display. Leon can be killed in like 60 unique ways. He gets his legs chopped off, can be impaled, giant bug
We
pours
talked about this
acid
already.
down his face, you see his skull.
Look at that, dude! They animated the acid ripping your face off. They could have just had you fall down dead. And I never saw this when I played because those enemies aren't that hard. So it's like they did so much fucking shit to make this game.
If you're an evil human being and shoot Luis Serra too many times, he's like,
Adios, Leon.
I didn't know that either!
Little rough, don't you think?
That's
if
crazy.
you shoot the lake 6 times, this happens? I mean, Jesus, this game is brutal.
Bit of advice, try using knives next time.
And you might think these gruesome death scenes are here just for flavor and seasoning, but by seeing this brutality, the player once again gets a very real taste of what they're up against. While at times Resident Evil 4 is a little tough, don't you think? The game adjusts the difficulty behind the scenes. Like the director in Left 4 Dead, if you're struggling, getting hit a bunch, hearing Leon go, too often, then the game might ease back on the throttle. Ganados will rush you less often. They're not as accurate when throwing weapons. If you're low on healing items, sometimes enemies drop first aid spray. If you die enough in the
Someone said some kid is gonna make a video like this about Fortnite in 10 years. Fortnite was revolutionary. When you landed in risky reels, you felt like you were there.
infamous water room, for example, the game will actually despawn the crossbow guys in the back. But if you're kicking the game's ass, as I often do, it'll do the opposite. After playing countless first-person shooters, the camera might feel limiting, but pretty much every attack has a noticeable wind-up. Ah, but what if you can't see the enemy? Well, my friend, allow me to introduce you to Captain Sound Design. Yeah, you'll probably hear the same sound effects over and over again. But if you ever think it's annoying, just know this makes the game better, because your brain becomes hardwired to listen for that. And in a fraction of a second, you know, danger, I should move. Sound design also comes into play before you even start shooting Ganados.
Un forastero!
You know those chilling murder chants?
What I like about Resident Evil is that, or at least the good ones, like Village and this one, it has moments of like ramped up heavy action, insane, you feel super pressured, you're fighting for your life, but then like it stops and has exploration moments. You get the lulls between the action. It's not just like constantly fighting. You get tired. You kill a bunch of people and you clear out a room, and then it's peace for a second, and you're like, you're looting and you're walking around, you're doing a puzzle.
It's from the cultists. They sound spooky, but also let you know, hey, there's enemies here. You can hardly ever blame the game for your lack of skill because you're given plenty of warnings. Leon limping when he's at low health. If an enemy's out of view, Ashley and Leon turn their heads. This helps players locate enemies without sacrificing the perspective or fear factor. In fact, it makes it scarier.
I'm coming for you.
Down to the smallest of details, Resident Evil 4 does not slack. The developers basically eliminated anything that would have had players yelling,
"Bullshit. What a load of fucking bullshit. How did they fuck this up so bad?"
Part of what makes the game so hard is the amount of time you're invulnerable after getting hit. Most enemies have a short attack cooldown, especially on professional. You can even get comboed to death by some of the bosses. This one time I got hit, paused the game to switch weapons, and dead. If you do run up against a tough boss, you have a get out of jail free card.
Use this!
But even this freebie comes at a cost of 30,000 pesetas and inventory space that could be used for more items. Speaking of, even the freaking inventory is interesting. Collecting and combining treasures to sell, managing the space in your case. This is the only thing that's nice and clean in my life. You see, there are workarounds to the difficulty, and that's being thorough. The game encourages you to explore and get the most money to upgrade your gear. Increasing your health, it adds something to look forward to. But who on earth is supplying Leon with all these goodies?
Got something that might interest you.
What are you
Can
buying?
we just talk about the merchant, aka the best character in all of video games? This dude is so iconic, even people who haven't played Resident Evil 4 know who he is. Seeing those blue flames is so comforting. These were the original bonfires. Difficulty and horror go hand in hand. And Resident Evil 4 maintains a perfect balance.
Oh, suplex.
Let's head back to the story. In our quest to find Ashley and figure out
what is going on around here.
You ever tried to kill him?
finds
No.
a shaking
What happened?
dresser. Inside is none other than Luis Serra. Now this man knows where the library is.
I have only one very important question. You got a smoke?
Got gum.
We get a little banter between the two hombres until it's interrupted by
the big cheese. What?
Aw, shit. Get him,
I'm gonna
Leon.
replay this
I'm
game.
lactose intolerant.
I'm gonna replay this game for sure.
While unconscious, Leon is injected with a lethal dose of grape juice.
Soon, you will become unable to resist this.
Who are you talking to? You know he's unconscious, right? Anyways, this is a cool transition. Leon and Louis are chained together.
Crawl out of one hole and into another.
The two have a long conversation, and we get to know our characters better as they both connect on what it was like being a police officer. However, when Leon mentions he was involved in Raccoon City, Louis takes a sudden interest and says,
"That is the incident with the viral outbreak, right? I think I might have seen a sample of the virus in a lab at the department."
Before he can elaborate, dude busts in with an axe. Of course, he's no match for our hero.
I would do that in real life. That's a
Brilliant
classic
about this
Atrioc
scene
move.
is Louis drops the fact that he works in a lab and knows about zombie viruses. Why does this random guy in Spain know about what happened in Raccoon City? But Axe Guy comes in so fast after Louis
The eye
says this,
expressions are
you
so
don't
good.
have time to process all the questions you're supposed to have. Later on, we learn Louis helped infect the populace of the village, so it's a nice...
Like, when you give characters good facial animations, you don't have to have them say things that are so obvious. Because you can read into what the way they're saying it.
Nice bit of foreshadowing.
Why are you... It makes me feel better. Let's just leave it at that.
He confirms the president's daughter is in the church, so that's where we're headed. One minor complaint is that Sadler chose to infect Leon instead of killing him, and didn't infect Lewis, so it makes no sense why this guy would show up to kill them. I guess it's to have Leon and Lewis go there. Leon has another run-in with the chief, Torres Mendez.
Is Wayne Brady gonna have to choke a bitch?
But Leon is spared again because he carries the same blood. But in the next scene, the chief...
And this happens in like the Fallout games a lot, where they have to just say what they're feeling. They gotta say, that makes me angry, that really upsets me. Or like, I won't forget this. And it's always like, they have to be so blatant about their feeling about what you said, because you need to know what happened, and they have no facial recognition to show it, so...
Attacks him again? What? I thought we had the same blood, bro.
Looks like there's been a change of plans.
This always confused the hell out of me for the same reasons as the axe guy. However, there is yet another twist. A third party? Ooh, the plot thickens. Nice touch how they avoid showing this lady's face, whoever she might be. As we head across the lake, there's an epic fight against the Del Lago. Leon has some nightmares. It's established this virus is a ticking time bomb. On our way back to the church, we have a showdown with Shrek 2. And I think it's time we discuss the enemies. Hey, but you know, I think I got the hang of fighting a regular...
What the fuck is that? What the?
Oh my, these things hit like a truck. Sakurai, nerf this. RE4 is dynamic because it's so unpredictable. Sometimes your first shot can decapitate a Ganado, other times a Plaga sprouts from it. It's random. The small amount of sway on your weapon can have a huge impact on your accuracy. This game could have easily used the villager Ganados as the main enemy from start to finish and just buffed their damage and health. But instead, we have three completely different...
I hate when games do that. One of the worst examples is like Skyrim. Oh, Skyrim's difficulty system is so shit. It's probably the worst in almost any game that I've ever played, where you're just fighting the same enemies, but their HP's buffed. So you never ever feel strong. The whole point of like playing games like that, by the end of it, you should feel like I am a fucking god. And then you can go back to the beginning areas and just fucking lay waste. But instead, like the fucking bandits are wearing full fucking mithril armor. It makes no sense. Like if you are the fucking Dragonborn, head of the Thieves Guild, head of the Wizards fucking school, and a fucking bandit tries to accost you, it should be like snapping your fingers, he's dead. But they auto buff everything. It's so stupid. There should be harder enemies. There should be a big ass dragon that's still hard to kill, but like you should feel the progression, but you don't, because everything auto levels with you no matter where you are.
Sets of enemies. The villagers attack you with farming equipment, while the cultists have medieval weaponry, and the island dudes are packing military hardware. It makes each area feel radically different. The Ganados reflect the location you're fighting them in. There's so many terrifying enemies in this game.
Oh my god, that guy was
the regenerators. I don't want to talk about...
Go back, I forgot about this guy. This guy made me quit for like 3 days. When I was a kid, I got to this boss and I said no. I took the game out and I played fucking Mario Kart or some shit. I played something else for 3 days. I couldn't, this was too scary. And then I had to come back and play it like in broad day, like on a Saturday. Like Saturday at like 10 a.m.
So many terrifying enemies in this game. Oh, the regenerators. I don't want to talk about them. Yeah. Why are you breathing like that? Stop it! Those armored knights, giant invisible bugs. Some assholes are shooting flaming rocks at you. This game is ridiculous. And then you got mini bosses like the Garador, which force you to move slowly and use the environment or be chopped into pieces. Resident Evil 4 constantly throws new enemy types, bosses, and cool set pieces at you.
Constantly.
So the combat is always as fresh as that drip Leon wears. Okay. Even if you're shooting at the same enemies, the environment's always got some kind of gimmick to make it different. But what RE4 is really good at is surprising you. So often you walk into an empty room and it's like, all right, nothing going on here. Oh.
Let's play Raid Shadow Legends.
It's what I like to call surprise encounters. Like when you go into the hedge maze and you can hear the rabid barking of the mutant dogs. They're waiting to attack you, you just don't know when. Stop that! Walking along this bridge and then... Yep, I'm in a gangbang again. Anytime you pick up a key item and hear this, usually means some shit is about to go down. Oh, Yup, there's the whole squad. It's brilliant game design because nothing is as it seems. And by ganking the player so often, it makes them always on the lookout for trouble, even in the quiet moments. Combined with the difficulty slow movement of enemies, Resident Evil 4 can be mastered through trial and error. And with generous checkpoints, the game is never all that frustrating. One of my favorite secrets is in the fight with Jack Krauser, probably the hardest boss in the game if you don't know his weakness, the knife. 10 or so swings from it, and he's dead.
Bit of advice, try using knives next time.
It's a nice detail. There's so much emphasis put on his knife, but it's the last thing you'd use in a fast-paced boss fight. Resident Evil 4 is also one of the few titles that do QuickTime events right. They add a very real tension and surprise to the gameplay.
I love the QuickTime events in Resident Evil 4.
Verdugo and U3 fights. But it's also fitting with Leon's character as a secret agent with Spider-Man's reaction time. So the gameplay kicks total ass.
Has anyone else, any other game done QuickTime events really well? I'm trying to think. Because they're so good in Resident Evil 4, and like I liked them so much, and I don't think I've... God of War, yeah, God of War makes sense. Yeah, I only played the new God of War, but I remember the QuickTime events and the boss fights were super sick. Where you're fighting that guy in the front of your hut, and he's like fucking dragging your skull across the ground. Minecraft story mode? No, I don't think so. Kung Fu Panda game? Okay. Enemies in Metroid don't really count.
Can hardly find a single thing to complain about. Although... after infiltrating the church, we find what we're looking for.
Ashley.
Don't come!
Oh, shit.
Oh, so I gotta escort this bitch. Just kidding, Ashley, you're pretty cool.
Don't worry, she's cool.
If there's one part of RE4 that most people criticize, it's,
yeah.
Resident Evil 4 is basically one long escort mission, and if I'm being real, Ashley's not that bad. Quite often, you can tell her to hide in the trash where she belongs.
How?
If they didn't have the dumpster thing, I would say it's really annoying. But as I recall, you would just kind of constantly put her in a dumpster. You just leave her in one spot, and then you can play the game normally. But if you do try to walk around with her, it is really annoying. It's like the worst part of the game for sure. But when you just dump her in a dumpster, then...
Rude.
This makes her invulnerable as one errant shot, and it's...
Oh, no.
Yeah, she just dies so easy.
But Ashley's AI is smart. She ducks when you're aiming towards her,
always
follows right behind, never gets stuck on geometry or wanders off doing some dumb shit and gets killed. Really, Ashley just gives you a larger hitbox and a second health bar to manage. Most of the game, she isn't even with you as she gets captured like 5 times.
Yeah, that's a good thing, though.
Ashley! Damn it!
Leon!
Fall Guys AI.
You see, they took the story and used it to inspire the gameplay, offering unique puzzles and gimmicks that keep things fresh. Even though Ashley isn't really equipped with ballistics, she's still useful. In fact, one section has you play as Ashley where you're mostly defenseless. It's terrifying. Shortly after her rescue, we run into Osmond Sadler,
the master of this fine religious community.
Now maybe it's time for me to talk about the whole United States is bad thing. In other words, the plot. Resident Evil has always had a reputation for its unique writing.
The human race requires judgment. You're going to judge us? You get all your ideas from comic book villains?
It's too easy to make fun of these games and their horrible dialogue, and I think the writers recognize that. Instead of trying to sell us a serious narrative and potentially fail, RE4 embraces its silliness.
But I'm afraid it's Ashley we need. Not you,
He was
Mr.
great.
Kennedy.
He was great.
If you don't need me, then get off my back, old
little
man.
Napoleon
What's
motherfucker.
that? The main villain is explaining his motivations?
Well, I really don't give a damn.
We could have had a story where Leon's character changes over time. He becomes a better man. Will he ever express his undying love for
The bitch in the red dress.
Is he gonna fall in love with Ashley? But screw all that. Resident Evil 4 will not have you questioning the morality of charity or contemplate the mysteries of life. This is a story told purely for entertainment.
Yeah,
Whatever
like an action
plot
movie.
holes or inconsistencies
It's
I
like
can
an action
point out
movie.
don't really matter in the grand scheme because this game isn't trying to be KOTOR 2, Dark Souls, or BioShock. Leon is the key to why the story works so well. He's not some edgy emo, a boulder-punching buff dude, a frightened scaredy cat. Leon defies the stereotypes of action horror protagonists. He straight up doesn't give a fuck right from the start. Throws a knife into Salazar's hand with pinpoint aim and just scoffs. As if he never doubted for a second that wouldn't hit. Leon is such a fucking Chad, he rejects Ashley's advances.
So, after you take me back to my place, how about we do some, overtime?
Sorry.
He's like, yeah, I could have sex with the president's daughter. I just don't wanna. A lot of protagonists have some kind of character arc, but Leon doesn't change at all by the end. He has one of the most likable personalities, never says or does anything stupid, a secret agent badass, who always makes time to talk shit and crack a few jokes.
Just because you killed my small-time subordinate.
Sadler, you're small-time.
Oh,
The
shit.
dude is proactive. Doesn't even wait for Mendez to say anything, just sprints into action. Too often, protagonists are super talkative or have an irritating voice or make dumb decisions, but Leon doesn't have any of these faults. He's not a godlike being either and shows plenty of vulnerability and real human emotions. It's because he's so likable and cool that we want him and his friends
better
to
than
succeed.
Ethan Winters
That's
from
not to say the narrative
Village.
is devoid of all depth. The plot is a fascinating product of its time. With George Bush declaring the war on terror, there was plenty of anti-American sentiment in foreign countries.
Oh, you crazy American. This is no ritual. It's terrorism.
Isn't that a popular word these days?
And since a villain can only be as good as the protagonist they harass, our bad guys are all super cool too. Sadler, Mendez, and Krauser all have an intimidating presence, and then there's Salazar,
Krauser
who's
was
this
so
little
sick.
shithead. I kinda like it that Sadler's goals and motivations are so basic.
No longer will the United States think they can police the world forever.
You know, I think nowadays people forget that any form of entertainment is made first and foremost to entertain. And I think if Salazar or Sadler went on some giant rants about how bad America is, how missile strikes killed their families, or whatever, well then we'd have to start taking the villains seriously. And the game would lose that campy, over-the-top vibe that makes it so unique in the first place. I mean, Leon has to rescue the president's daughter from a weird Spanish cult led by the guy who voices the Nords in Skyrim. Along the way, he fights a comically large brute, a Venus flytrap, a mutated lizard, and a knife-wielding maniac. Salazar being short isn't significant to the plot, it's just funny. Leon is talking shit to this decrepit-looking 20-year-old dwarf over a radio in a giant castle filled with medieval zombies. Why try and shove a deeper message into such an absurd scenario? It just wouldn't work. Because of this, the story is free to focus on the relationships between characters, rivalries with villains, and the mysteries behind the plot. The absolute nightmares Leon goes up against would scare the piss out of any normal person regardless of their training.
Not me, though.
But he acts like he sees this stuff every day.
Monsters. Guess after this, there'll be one less to worry about.
RE4 demonstrates how to balance a serious tone with comedic moments. While run-ins with Salazar and Sadler always have a couple jokes written in, almost every major boss fight is played with a straight face. It allows the player to react and be frightened by these monstrosities
Oh my
without
God, this one's
Leon's
scary as
dialogue
fuck.
interrupting the mood.
Monsters. Guess after this, there'll be one left.
There is no gag when the U3 shows up. Leon doesn't say anything,
Yeah.
and we're
Oh,
left
God, it was
thinking,
so scary.
"Holy fuck. I have to fight this thing?" It knows when to be serious and when to be campy.
The big cheese. What?
That's why the characters are so charming. When Salazar triggers his ceiling trap, Ashley screams bloody murder, and then we see Salazar just jogging away. Look at him go. The story is given further context in separate ways, where you play as
The bitch in the red dress.
and relive the same events through Ada's perspective. Resident Evil 4 may not have the best story, but it certainly is the most entertaining. Resident
agree.
Evil 4 is
It
impressive
was very
on
entertaining,
every front.
and it moves fast.
The advancements it made for the action horror genre cannot be understated. This game, but mostly Leon's ass, saved the Resident Evil franchise and at the same time, revolutionized it. In some ways, it's tragic how good RE4 was. After 16 years,
I'm just saying, as a GameCube owner in 2005, and I only had a GameCube, and my friends had PS2s and Xboxes, and also I would be online on like the GameSpot forums and shit, and you'd always get made fun of for having the kiddie console. And 2005 when Resident Evil 4 came out was the one fucking year where I felt like the big cheese. It was the one fucking time where like they wanted to come over to my house and play Resident Evil. It came to the PS2 anyway, but not for a while. Like I think it was like, okay, so it came out on the GameCube in January and it came out on the PS2 in October. So that's over 6 months. 9 months. Yeah, 9 months later. 9 months is a long fucking time. Not as long as the exclusivity deal they said they had. What are you gonna do? 9 months is pretty good. So it was dope. And it just felt really cool. And also the GameCube version was better. Like once it came to PS2, obviously more people got it because PS2 was way more popular than GameCube. But the GameCube one still ran better, looked better, controlled better. Like it felt better for the controller. So
years, it's doubtful Capcom will ever put the pieces together again so flawlessly. And it sucks that Leon feels completely different in every other game he's in. Yet this is the version of him I like the.
They were supposed to make 5 games that were exclusive and 3 were canceled. Look, GameCube just flopped. I don't blame Capcom at all because GameCube flippity flopped, dude. It basically only existed to sell Nintendo games and to play Melee. What are you going to do? Like, it was just so much smaller than N64 was. You thought it did well? It didn't. Unfortunately, I was a GameCube guy. I love the GameCube. But it got destroyed by Xbox and PS2. And PS2 destroyed them both, to be fair. But, like, N64 lost to the PS1, but respectably. GameCube did not lose to the PS2 respectably. It lost badly.
The most. This is the story I wanted to see continue. Still, this game blew away the competition of its time and has aged remarkably well, even against modern titles. The cutscenes and graphics have a timeless charm. Investing in motion capture and facial animations was one of the best choices Capcom ever made. No doubt an expensive and time-consuming decision for 2005. But it's the main reason why it holds up better than any of its contemporaries and why it's been ported to so many freaking consoles. RE4 marked a huge shift in video game storytelling, and the cinematics inspired countless studios to pursue these movie-like cutscenes with engaging cinematography and camera work. While the quality of the plot and dialogue is up for debate, not a goddamn one of you can tell me this isn't top-tier entertainment. RE4 is also the best example of how to make a game challenging yet barely frustrating. Despite the intimidating nature of the bosses and enemies, the hidden difficulty system makes things easier if you die too much. With generous checkpoints should you fail, rarely are you forced to repeat large chunks of the game. Add in the outstanding gunplay, addicting progression system, the kick-ass dude that sells it to you, dynamic combat, and excellent level design, there is not a dull moment in sight. Resident Evil 4 also has way more content and features than is expected of most AAA games.
Yeah, I don't care about this stuff too much.
It's one of the most replayable, enjoyable third-person shooters.
Amazing
Leon
single-player
and Ashley's story may be over, but their legacy will last 1,000 lifetimes. And that is why Resident Evil 4 is a masterpiece.
I can't wait to play it again. I haven't played it since I was a kid. It's not like I replayed it. I played it when I was in 2005. I never replayed it again. So I would be so excited to play it again because I loved it. I would remember, can't wait to come from school to play it every day.